Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWS College Football Week 11. We're on to Saturday. Quick announcement. So I've been titling the videos, and I changed the thumbnail a little bit. There's a reason for that. We don't have to get into the details. YouTube made some changes about a week and a half ago. They're classifying channels to target a certain type of content. Whatever. We don't have to get into the details, but I don't want my videos to be incorrectly classified as a certain type of content. So I'm going to be showing up in different feeds like sports analysis and breakdowns, which is what I want, which is where I think my content more belongs. The reason I'm even bringing this up, because you're like, if the content's the same, why do we care? The reason I'm bringing this up is if you're somebody that consumes a lot of gambling content, I may not show up in your feeds anymore, which is the goal because I'm trying to avoid that type of traffic. So if you want to avoid that happening, just make sure you click the subscribe button at the bottom or the notification bell. Or I don't even know if that's still there. It used to be there. But yeah, make sure you click those two buttons if you want to avoid that happening. So yeah, this is more in line with what I'd like to do in the community I'd like to build anyway. Might result in some less views, but that's fine. I never really cared about that. I believe the community will be better if I show up in those types of feeds. And I also think it's a smarter decision long-term. Whatever. You don't care about any of that. I would just let you know if you're somebody that consumes a lot of gambling content to make sure you do that if you want me to still appear in the feeds. Anyway, college football, week 11 Saturday. Let's do it. I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. All right, we got Temple on the road at Army. Temple coming off a backbreaker here, 45-14 to ECU. And it's not just that they lost the game to ECU. ECU's a strong team, so it's not like, oh, this loss was so bad. It happens. ECU's a strong team. It's the injuries. This defense is just so banged up. So cornerback Jalen Castleberry, he's set to – so start with the good news for Temple. Cornerback Jalen Castleberry is set to return. He missed one game. Their other main corner, Aseki, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, he left the ECU game injured. He's also going to play. So there were some injury concerns at corner. They're both back. After that, though, two safeties, Avery Powell and Dante Pollard, both got injured in the first quarter of the ECU game, and both are questionable. They have two other safeties that play a lot, though, Fry and Morton. Their edge rusher, Chroma, he's been banged up the last couple games, and it looks like he's probably not going to play in this game. Linebacker Eric Stewart, third leading tackler on the team. He's missing practice and is listed as questionable. Defensive tackle Demerick Morris. He's missing practice and listed as questionable. So this defense just really hit hard by the injury bug here recently. And now they got to go on the road and play Army. Not that Army's offense is anything spectacular, but you got to tackle. You got to be in position. Having backups on the field isn't exactly ideal against this Army offense. I mean, not to mention, Temple's defense has been struggling to stop the run. They're 129th in success rate per rush, 130th in PPA per rush. So having backups on the field, struggling against the run when you're going on the road to play Army, yeah, that's not what you want to see. We already saw Temple play against an option offense. In Week 7, they played Navy. They were at home for that one. Didn't exactly go well. Navy averaged over 6.5 yards per carry, 58% success rate per rush, 243 yards on the ground. Now, Temple almost won this game, by the way. The final score was 32-31. Navy actually scored a touchdown to take the lead with 39 seconds left. So Temple actually almost won this game, but in terms of stopping the run, wasn't very successful. So not a great look there for Temple's defense, banged up going on the road against Army. And this Army offense, it might be a little bit undervalued. They haven't had a great year offensively, but they played so many road games this year. They've only played 2 home FBS games all season against North Texas and Charlotte. The offense looked pretty good in those home FBS games, 31 points per game, over 5.6 yards per play, 52% success rate. So I would imagine Army's able to move the chains and stay on the field here against the Temple defense that struggled against the run. The good news for Temple, though, on the other side of the ball, this Army defense has really struggled to defend the pass. Now, we know Casey Keeler wants to run the ball. Temple wants to run the ball, but they do throw it a decent amount. They have a quarterback there in Evan Simon. They do throw it a decent amount, and when they drop back to pass, they've been extremely efficient. 22nd in success rate per dropback, 28th in PPA per dropback. Evan Simon coming off probably his worst game of the season last week against ECU, a 43.8 NFL passer rating in the game. But let's not forget that before that, I mean, heading into that ECU game, he was playing not only his best football of the season, but the best football of his career. He was lights out in the 4 games before that ECU game, over 121 average NFL passer rating. So Army doesn't have much of a pass rush. Evan Simon's been great from a clean pocket. Army secondary has struggled in coverage. Yeah, I mean, Temple should be able to move the ball right back on Army. The problem is when it comes to taking a position in this game, I mean, it's tough to consider taking a +7 when we're not expecting Temple's defense to be able to get off the field. I mean, Army should be able to hold on to the ball for 7-8 minutes at a time, and it's tough to take an over in what might be a really slow-paced football game. So, really tough one. Give me Temple +7 over 45.5, but I didn't end up doing anything here. Colorado, West Virginia, and man, things just keep getting worse for Colorado here. These injuries are nuts. So now both offensive tackles are listed as questionable. Jordan Seaton, Larry Johnson III, both listed as questionable. Remember, this is already an offense that was missing Xavier Hill, their guard, who's probably their best offensive lineman or one of their best offensive linemen. He's actually listed as probable, so they might be getting Xavier Hill back. But both offensive tackles, these are both new injuries too. Both offensive tackles listed as questionable. Just wow, this Colorado team is so injured. And I know you look at this graphic and you might think, well, West Virginia's defense isn't anything special, which is true. They've struggled defensively plenty of times this year. But at home in Morgantown, they've been pretty good. At home, they're allowing under 4.7 yards per play, under 34% success rate. You compare those to the numbers on the road. Night and day difference. This defense is much better at home in Morgantown. I mean, they just shut down TCU's offense at home a couple weeks ago. They completely shut down Pitt at home earlier in the season. This West Virginia defense has definitely played considerably better at home. And Colorado's offense right now. Okay, so Colorado's offense. In their last 2 games, they've been beaten by like a combined 95 points. They've been blown out in back-to-back games. Their offense, 12 points per game, 3.03 yards per play. 3.03 yards per play is so insanely bad. Under 34% success rate. Salter has 86 combined passing yards in these 2 games. Combined. 86 yards passing in these 2 games. In the last game against Arizona, they brought in Ryan Staub midway through the game. He went 0 for 2. He attempted 2 passes. He went 0 for 2 with 2 interceptions. So he dropped back to pass twice, threw 2 picks. Then they finally switched over to the freshman, the 5-star Juju Lewis, who's going to make his first start here. They've switched play callers to Brett Bartoloni, who is an analyst with the team. So we've got a new play caller. We've got the 5-star, the future of Colorado, you would think. Juju Lewis starting at quarterback. He's probably the most talented quarterback on the roster. They got completely smoked in back-to-back games. I want to give some props to Dion, by the way. So, first of all, he wouldn't let the media talk to any of his players or coordinators after the loss, and he took all the blame. He was like, don't put any of it on them. It's all on me. Don't blame the coordinators. Don't blame the players. And the reason I want to give him props, he didn't mention the injuries. Colorado's so injured. They're injured on defense, too. They're so injured right now, and Dion took like all the blame for it, which I thought was a classy way to handle it. Because, man, if I'm a head coach and I've been blown out in back-to-back games and my team is this hurt, the first thing I'm saying in the press conference is, guys, we're so injured. That's the first thing I'm saying is assigning some of the blame to the injuries, and it didn't look like he did that. So, props to Dion. It's a classy way to handle it. When we flip it over to the other side of the ball, same story. Colorado's so injured. So, another new injury. Their starting corner, DJ McKinney, is now listed as questionable. That's brand new. Their starting safety, Tawfiq Bayard, he's suspended the first half for targeting. So he's going to miss the first half of this game for targeting. Starting defensive tackle Amari McNeil is going to miss another game. Cornerback Makari Vickers is going to miss another game. So they're injured as hell on this side as well. And you might be thinking, looking at this graphic, well, Kyle, who cares? West Virginia's offense is terrible. And you'd be right when looking at the full season numbers. But keep in mind, Rich Rod might have found something. They've got a new quarterback here. There's a new energy with this West Virginia team. Last week, they go on the road to Houston. 45 points they scored in the game against a pretty good Houston defense. Now, 17 of those points came off turnovers. Houston gifted them the football 4 times, but 46.2% success rate, 5.37 yards per play. Keep in mind, 2 or 3 weeks ago, West Virginia was the worst offense in the conference. Well, No, Oklahoma State. But they were the second worst offense in the conference. So they switched over to the quarterback, a new quarterback here in Scotty Fox. Even with all the injuries, West Virginia's offense seems to be playing with confidence right now. And since switching quarterbacks, look at the final scores of these games. West Virginia played TCU down to the wire. 23-17 was the final score in a game where I believe they went down 10-0 like immediately. So they fought hard in that TCU game. And then they went on the road and beat Houston, who was in the Big 12 championship running. So West Virginia is playing with some confidence. I know you look at the full season numbers and it looks like these two teams are close. Colorado's the better team. But based on the trajectories of these two programs, I think it's got to be West Virginia here. I'm not going to bet this. I'm not going to lay 6.5 points to a more talented team. Colorado's still better than West Virginia, but West Virginia is playing with confidence. They're playing their best football this season by far right now. And Colorado, with the injuries, they just seem to be in a bit of a tailspin. So maybe Juju Lewis, the quarterback, the 5-star freshman, maybe he gives them a spark, but this is not exactly an ideal spot for a freshman making his first start here at Morgantown. The West Virginia pass rush has been really good at home. Like I said before, the defense has been good at home. So yeah, give me West Virginia or over at 52.5. West Virginia -6.5, over 52.5 here. SMU's on the road at Boston College. Look at this 3-game stretch here from SMU. They played Clemson, Wake Forest, Miami. How are they 2-1 with the one loss being Wake Forest in those 3 games? They go on the road to play Clemson, then they play Wake Forest, then they're home against Miami, and their only loss is Wake. What a weird stretch of games here for SMU. I don't believe that mathematically eliminated Miami, but 2 losses certainly puts them in a situation. SMU, on the other hand, I believe they control their own destiny. I didn't mathematically calculate it out myself, but I read an article saying SMU, if they win out, are guaranteed a spot in the ACC championship. So barring me reading an article that did their research incorrectly, I believe all SMU has to do is win out. And they start that journey off by going on the road to play a 1-8 Boston College team. It's crazy that they're 1-8. I mean, they're really not a terrible team. Honestly, maybe they are. They started off, they were actually playing some decent football. They lost a couple close ones early. They have, however, lost 8 games in a row. And the last 5 were all by 2 touchdowns or more. So maybe Boston College is spiraling a bit. Earlier in the season, they really weren't that bad. The Boston College defensive numbers on the year don't look that bad, but like I was just talking about before, the wheels kind of fell off here. If you look at Boston College, last 4 games against Clemson, UConn, Louisville, Notre Dame, and maybe we cut them a little bit of slack. Those are some tough opponents, but they're allowing over 7.8 yards per play. 44.2% success rate. And Boston College is another team where the lead story is injuries on the defensive side. So check this out. 4 of their top 6 defensive tackles are currently injured, although McConnell is going to be back for this one. So it looks like they're getting one back. Very injured on the defensive line. 4 of their top 6 corners are also injured. So defensive tackle and corner, they're smoked in those two position groups. Cornerback TJ Green is questionable, so they might be getting one of those guys back. But this defense really not playing well, very injured. And you know what? You can point to the SMU offense and say, hey, this offense hasn't played very well, which is true. I mean, in their last 3 games, we know Kevin Jennings is dealing with an injury. I feel like he's limping every game. Their offensive numbers certainly don't look efficient in their last 3 games. 33.3% success rate isn't good at all, just 24.3 points per game. But look who they played. Clemson, NFL players all over that defense. Miami's one of the best defenses in the country. And Wake Forest has been playing lights out defensively. In fact, on paper, Wake Forest is like a top 10 defense in the country right now. So they played 3 games in a row against 3 very strong ACC defenses. The way Boston College is currently constructed, they're not an elite defense at all. So look, barring Kevin Jennings getting injured in this game, which is possible, he's been dealing with an injury, I would imagine SMU can move the football in this one, especially because the teams talk about how they control their own destiny. They're fired up. They're playing with confidence. I would imagine they're able to move the football in this one. And on the other side of the ball, all right, I don't even know what's going on with the Boston College offense right now. And honestly, I don't think Bill O'Brien does either. So if you haven't been following along, they benched Dylan Lonergan, who was, okay, let's a little backstory here. So Dylan Lonergan was originally an Alabama recruit. Bill O'Brien recruited him at Alabama. So Bill O'Brien takes the Boston College job. Lonergan enters the portal, and he went and got his guy. He went the guy that he originally recruited at Alabama. He was speaking very highly of Dylan Lonergan entering the season. So Dylan Lonergan is the Boston College starting quarterback to start the year. Obviously, he didn't play too well. He got benched in the Clemson game. Grayson James took over. Now, since that Clemson game, Bill O'Brien has been very cagey about who the starting quarterback's going to be. Grayson James ended up starting both of those games. Did not play well. Then last week, after Grayson James got the start back-to-back weeks, last week they announced that Dylan Lonergan is the starter again for Notre Dame. He benches him super early, like 3 series into the game. They bench him, which I was reading an article. I forget the guy's name. It was a Boston College beat writer, and I like the way he phrased it. I should give him credit. I just can't remember his name. But I was reading an article from a Boston College beat writer, and he was saying what he's doing doesn't make any sense because Grayson James wasn't playing well, and at no point did they bench him for Lonergan. Like the phrasing used in the article was, why is Grayson James' leash so much longer than Lonergan's leash, who was supposed to be his guy coming into the season? So there's a lot of moving pieces here with this Boston College offense. I think Grayson James is going to be the starter now, and he didn't even really play well. I don't know what's going on with this Boston College offense. I just know it doesn't look very good. So you would think, okay, it has to be SMU in a blowout here. Now, here's where it gets interesting. It's the red bandana game here at Boston College, which they take very seriously. For those of you that don't know what this is, so one of the guys, his name's Wells something. He was in the Twin Towers on 9/11, and he was like considered a hero. He put on a red bandana and was helping people to safety, and then he ended up losing his life when the second plane hit. So he's a Boston College alum, or so he's very heavily affiliated with Boston College. So they have this red bandana game. He was wearing a red bandana when he saved people out of the World Trade Center. So they do this game called the Red Bandana Game to honor him. And they take it seriously here, as they should. That's a cool thing to honor this guy. But in the past, I mean, this team almost upset the undefeated Jordan Travis Florida State team 2 years ago. Final score was 31-29. Florida State was ranked number 3 in the country in that one. They beat Florida State a couple years before that. They upset the number 9 USC team back in 2014. This is all in red bandana games. So the place, even though there's turmoil with the program right now, the place will be up for this one. And look, SMU's defense, look, we have all kinds of issues with the Boston College offense, but SMU's defense, it's been great. Look at the schedule. I mean, how many elite offenses? I mean, they saw Miami. Miami was moving the football in that game. Clemson, they played a backup quarterback. Syracuse backup quarterback. Stanford, Wake Forest, not good offenses. TCU beat them. Baylor beat them. So, I mean, how many games against good offenses have we seen? To me, it's just Miami. It was the only one where it's like they were able to win against a good offense. Every other game was they either lost or they played a backup quarterback. So I think SMU's defense, remember, coming into the season, we thought they were going to take a step backwards. I kind of want to take Boston College in the red bandana game. This team looks terrible, but give me Boston College plus 10.5. Indiana's on the road in Happy Valley, and this sure has been a one-sided series. Penn State 25-2 lifetime against Indiana, 13-0 at home. Indiana has never won a football game ever in Happy Valley, and they're more than 2 touchdown favorites in this one. This is a crazy year, man. Indiana last week in a road conference game on the road in Maryland, 55 points over 7.8 yards per play. They had 588 yards of offense in the game. Just wow. Now, going on the road to Happy Valley is certainly different than going to Maryland, without a doubt. We did see Penn State's defense get a little bit exposed last week, although they were on the road in Columbus. So maybe that's not a fair data point either. But Penn State allowed over 8.7 yards per play, 55.4% success rate in the game. So, look, they've never won here. I'm not seeing a path to Penn State competing. Maybe you can play the injury card. Indiana star receiver Elijah Surratt left the Maryland game injured, and I don't believe it's serious, but he is listed as a game-time decision. So Indiana might be missing their star wide receiver. And remember, that's the guy that caught the winning touchdown pass against Iowa. Remember, when Indiana went to Kinnick, they were in a dogfight against Iowa, and then Surratt caught a touchdown pass to win by a touchdown at the end there. So they might be missing their star receiver, who's a huge part of that offense. So maybe if he's out, Penn State can generate some stops here. Indiana's also going to be missing their right guard, Drew Evans, for a second straight game. So they're missing a starter on the offensive line. Maryland's defensive front, maybe not the unit that can equip a missing offensive lineman, but Penn State, that defensive front certainly can. So I think there's a path to Penn State playing a good defensive game here. This is still Penn State in Happy Valley. There's still a ton of talent on that defense, and let's not pretend like we haven't seen Indiana's offense look mortal this year. Look at their first 2 road games of the year, at Iowa, at Oregon. In terms of talent, Penn State's in a conversation with those 2 teams. Indiana was held to 25 points, under 6 yards per play, 43.4% success rate. These are still solid offensive numbers, but they're nothing compared to the offensive numbers they put in their other games. So, yeah, I think Penn State is able to compete here defensively and force Indiana's offense to work for it. It's the other side of the ball. This is where I just don't know where the path is to Penn State scoring points. The strength of Cignetti's defense has always been stopping the run. That goes back to his years with James Madison. He had one of the best run defenses in the country at James Madison 2 years in a row. Then he came to Indiana, and shocker, he's got an elite run defense back-to-back years. So I just can't see Penn State running the ball on this Indiana defense because no one really runs the ball in Indiana. And if Penn State can't run the ball, well, what are we expecting them to do? I mean, they've got a quarterback in. Gronkmeyer's going to be the quarterback. They haven't shown much of a passing attack. Indiana might be getting their linebacker, Aiden Fisher, back. That's not confirmed. He's the second leading tackler on the team. He didn't play in the Maryland game. So maybe if you like Penn State, you're saying you don't believe Aiden Fisher is going to play, and Maryland's not a team that could run the ball anyway, so they weren't able to exploit Indiana missing their main linebacker, but Penn State can. But it's not even confirmed that he's not going to play. He's listed as questionable. So, yeah, I just don't trust Penn State's offense. I will say it's kind of a tough unit to get a feel for because, remember, Drew Aller got hurt, right? Their quarterback from the beginning of the year is hurt. We've seen Penn State play 2 games since Drew Aller's been hurt. Their offensive numbers are terrible. Less than 3.5 yards per play. That's actually awful. So their offensive numbers in the 2 games they've played since Drew Aller has been hurt, awful. But they played back-to-back road games at Kinnick and at Columbus. So, I mean, who's to say Drew Aller wouldn't have put the same exact offensive numbers up in those 2 games? 2 of the toughest places for an offense to go score in the entire country, at Iowa and at Ohio State. So I don't think it's fair to say, Gronkmeyer can't play. This Penn State offense is terrible. Look at the last 2 games. When, I mean, Drew Aller at quarterback probably puts up similar terrible numbers based on what we saw before that. If Gronkmeyer is comparable to Aller, Penn State's offense earlier in the season didn't look that bad. I mean, they were losing football games, but it's not like they looked like Kent State or something. They were moving the ball. They were playing. So they were losing competitive football games. So this is a really tough one. What makes this one tough is if you're asking me, do I think the line should be 14.5 based on just measuring these 2 teams up? I would say no way. That's too high. But the way Cignetti coaches, I mean, if he has a chance to put his foot on your throat, he's going to do it. And this could be a 3-point game in the 4th quarter. If Cignetti has a chance to win by 24, like he doesn't let up, man. So Indiana looks like they're out to make a statement, and a 3-touchdown win in Happy Valley would certainly be a statement. I don't hate an under here at 50.5. Lean towards Indiana. I don't have much interest in betting one. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I don't have much interest in betting this one. James Madison, Marshall, last week, quite the nightmare for Marshall. They go on the road, get smoked by Coastal, and had they won that game, Marshall would have been this game. So had Marshall won this game against Coastal, it would have been Marshall versus James Madison. Winner has control of the division to play in the Sun Belt Championship game, which is crazy that Marshall's even in that conversation. No one was expecting much from Marshall this year. And if we're looking at Marshall's defensive numbers against Coastal last week, I mean, the final score isn't a great indication. They gave up 44 points, but 35.3% success rate. They didn't play a poor defensive game. Marshall turned the ball over 5 times. You turn the ball over 5 times, you're going to give up points. The defense actually didn't play poorly outside of a few explosive plays. So it was just Marshall turning the ball over, and then Coastal connected on a few big plays. And the 44 final score isn't a great indication, but certainly gives us some concern. And what makes it even more concerning is the explosive plays. That's not a one-off. They've actually been struggling with explosive plays all year, this Marshall defense. So I don't see any reason James Madison can't rip off some of those explosives themselves. Marshall might also be missing their edge rusher, Braden Ward. He leads the team in sacks. I believe he's listed as questionable. Yeah, I would imagine, even though, I mean, Marshall's a tough place to go play. Historically, that's usually a good defense. It's not the easiest place to go score points. Historically, Tony Gibson's a defensive head coach. Like, I get it. I'm not jumping at the opportunity to take offenses to go into Marshall and put up a big number, but this James Madison offense is just operating at a different level right now. I mean, in their last 2 games, they're averaging 57.5 points per game. They scored 115 points in their last 2. 115 in 2 games. Over 8.1 yards per play. Alonzo Barrett's playing the best football of his career right now. I mean, they got off to a slow start offensively, this James Madison team, but whatever it is, they found it because they are clicking on all. What's the phrase? Clicking on all cylinders. I think I'm misusing that phrase. They look good. How about that? They look very good right now, this James Madison offense. So even though I do think Marshall's defense at home, we probably could find an opportunity to find some value in a spot like that. James Madison just looks too good right now, and I'm not sure how we expect Marshall's offense to move the ball in this game. I mean, they're a very weird offense. They're an offense that wants to run the ball. They're like top 15 in the country in rushing frequency, but they're not good at it. They're 98th in success rate per rush, 119th in PPA per rush. They've been very reliant in explosive plays from Carlos Del Rio Wilson, their quarterback. Not sure how sustainable that is, especially against a James Madison defense that's easily the best in the Sun Belt Conference. They're actually first in the country in success rate, 13th in PPA per play. So I'm not sure if this Cinderella story we've seen from Carlos Del Rio Wilson and the Marshall offense, I'm not sure if it's able to continue here against James Madison's defense. I mean, look at the last 2 games. James Madison played arguably the 2 best offenses in the Sun Belt Conference outside of them. Old Dominion and Texas State. Those are probably the 2 best offenses in the Sun Belt outside of James Madison. Held them to 5.2 yards per play, 30.4% success rate. So I think the Cinderella story with Marshall is over here. James Madison should win by a big number. This should be a blowout. So yeah, James Madison minus the points here for me. Sticking in the Sun Belt Conference, but we're moving over to the West Division, and we got what is a big game here. Maybe not a game we were expecting to be a big game, but Arkansas State has won 4 in a row. I actually think both these teams have won 4 in a row. I should have wrote that down. I'm pretty sure both these teams are on 4-game winning streaks, but Arkansas State is the more surprising one because coming into the season, I think people expected Southern Miss to be strong. Arkansas State, maybe not. You look at the year-long defensive numbers and you think, this Arkansas State defense is terrible. And I'm not going to necessarily say that's wrong. They're 111th in success rate, 98th in PPA per play. However, remember, this is a defense that hired Nate Drayling as the DC entering the season, and I was the only one saying, hey, guys, look out for this Arkansas State defense, and it was looking like I was terribly wrong for the first half of the season. Check it out. Last 2 games allowing less than 4 yards per play, 17 points per game, 37% success rate. Don't look now. Nate Drayling, the Arkansas State defense is coming around a little bit. And Southern Miss, okay, they lit Louisiana Monroe up last week. 49.7.3 yards per play. It was terrible. They ripped Louisiana Monroe to shreds. That's arguably the worst team in the conference. Let's not ignore that in the previous 3 games against not even the best defenses, Jacksonville State, Georgia Southern, Louisiana. I mean, those are lower tier Sun Belt teams this season. Under 39% success rate. I was not looking like the most fluent offense going into that Louisiana Monroe game. And you got an Arkansas State team that's fired up, that's won 4 in a row, that's actually in the running here in the Sun Belt West Division. I think Arkansas State can play some stellar defense in this game. I do. It's the other side of the ball where it gets tough because Arkansas State offensively is so streaky. They just lost their best offensive lineman, Tristan Smith. He's their starting left guard. He, according to Pro Football Focus, is the best offensive lineman on the team by far. And I think he's out. Yeah, he's out for the season. They've got a redshirt freshman starting at left guard in place of their best offensive lineman. You certainly don't like that. Now, Southern Miss, their pass rush has been very strong this year. But Jalen Rayner, for those of you that don't follow Sun Belt football, he can play. He's very streaky. There's times where it's like, oh, this kid's got it. And then there are other times where it's like, they need to bench him. He's a very streaky quarterback, but he has handled pressure pretty well this year. So I think Southern Miss defense can really give them some problems. I kind of would have been an under in this game, to be honest. It's like a huge game, and I think both defenses could play well. Here's why it's a little terrifying to bet an under. Look at the pace. Both of these teams are top 25 in pace in the country. So how could you possibly take under 55.5 in a game like that? Give me the under and give me Arkansas State plus 4.5. I'm buying. I'm a believer in what Butch Jones is doing. I think this is a low score. Well, not low scoring by Sunbelt standards. Let's say 26-24 final score. Arkansas State covers. Not sure if they win, though. Georgia, Mississippi State, and Starkville. And shout out to Mississippi State, man. The streak is over. If you don't know which streak I'm talking about, I believe Mississippi State had lost, I want to say like 16 consecutive SEC games. I think it was 16 in a row. So last week, they beat Arkansas. That was their first SEC win in over 2 years. So shout out to Mississippi State. The streak is over. And honestly, they've deserved credit this is a stronger Mississippi State team. This is not the typical Mississippi State basement of usually it's Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, or this is the two worst teams in the conference by far. That hasn't been the case this year. I mean, Vanderbilt's obviously awesome, and even Mississippi State is considerably stronger this year. So shout out Mississippi State, ending the streak. Georgia's offense didn't look too powerful in their first game without wide receiver Colby Young. 24-20 was the final score. And honestly, we've now seen Georgia's offense struggle in 2 of their last 3 games. Look at the Florida game and the Auburn game. We're talking about under 4.9 yards per play, 37.1% success rate. Now, Georgia was able to pull out wins in both of these, but definitely something to take note of considering this is an offensive team. This is not the same elite Georgia defense we've seen in years past. Georgia's going to have serious trouble winning an SEC championship game or a college football playoff game if they're only scoring 22 points per game. That's for sure. So that is something that's concerning about this Georgia team. That being said, Mississippi State's defense isn't anything special, and when we've seen Georgia play against lesser SEC defenses, the offense didn't struggle at all. Against Kentucky and Ole Miss, they averaged 39 points per game, 6.3 yards per play, 56% success rate. So when Georgia has seen lesser SEC defenses, they look just fine. Mississippi State is most definitely a lesser SEC defense. They're 81st in success rate, 84th in PPA per play on the season. I would imagine Georgia will not have problems moving the ball against this defense, even in front of the Cowbells. Now, if you're looking to take the points with Mississippi State, you can say the weakness of this defense has been the run. They're 108th in success rate per rush, 91st in PPA per rush. Georgia's been pretty reliant on the pass this year. The run game's been a little inconsistent. So you could say, hey, the way this Georgia offense is constructed, they're relying on the pass. Mississippi State's actually been pretty strong against the pass. If you look at their numbers against the pass in their SEC games, it's really not that bad. 7.66 yards per pass attempt allowed, 42% success rate per dropback. They've been generating some pressure. So there is a path there. You could say, oh, Mississippi State, they're strong against the pass. Georgia needs to throw the ball. But the thing is, Georgia's been throwing the ball despite not having a run game. If you look at their last 4 games, they're struggling to run the ball. 3.91 yards per carry, 43% success rate. I mean, that's against Florida. Kentucky's got a good defensive run. Auburn's got one of the best run defenses in the country. And then Ole Miss is susceptible to the run. They put up a big number in that one. So now they're going to play a game where they're actually going to have run support. So I think that only adds to Georgia's offense. They're going to be able to run the ball because Mississippi State really struggles to stop the run. Mississippi State's starting safety and leading tackler, Jerron Manning, is also listed as questionable. So if he doesn't play, that even adds more weight to the Georgia should put up a big number. So yeah, I like Georgia to move the football in this game. On the other side of the ball, this is where it gets a little tougher. So Mississippi State's offense is pretty good. If you've watched Mississippi State play this year, they've got a pretty good offense. Georgia's been struggling to defend the pass. So there's a path here to Blake Shapen having a good game against this Georgia defense. Georgia's also dealing with injuries. Safety Kyron Drones will miss his 3rd straight game. Defensive tackle Jordan Hall was injured in the Florida game. He's out. He's been ruled out. So defensive tackle Jordan Hall ruled out. Edge rusher Chris Cole, who's tied for the lead of the team in sacks, he got injured in the Florida game and is listed as questionable. Their 3rd corner, DeMello Jones, he also got injured in the Florida game and is listed as questionable. So Georgia's defense, in addition to struggling against the pass for some time this year, they're also dealing with injuries, and a couple of those injuries are brand new. Mississippi State, I believe their right tackle, Albert Reese, just got re-injured. He was hurt, then came back. I think he's hurt again. Their star playmaking running back, Fluff Bothwell, is back, though, for Mississippi State, even though he didn't do much of anything in his first game back. Blake Shapen's been playing well. He's also battle-tested. You look at his last 3 games, Florida, Texas. Well, Arkansas's defense isn't good, but he played Florida, he played Texas, and he played pretty well. So, yeah, I'm sure Blake Shapen will make some throws against this Georgia secondary who has looked pretty susceptible to the pass every time they've seen a quarterback that can throw it. So, I was considering Mississippi State, but I think over is the play here. It's down to, you can get a flat 56 right now. The numbers actually come down. It's at 57.5. So not sure who bet it down. I would go over with this one. Over 56. I really am worried about the Mississippi State defense here. I think Georgia's going to move the ball pretty fluently. So, yeah, give me over 56. BYU Texas Tech in what is shaping up to be the Big 12 game of the year. Man, what an awesome game. Texas Tech finally gets over the hump. They beat Kansas State in Manhattan. That was the first time since 2008 they've been able to accomplish that. You can see these two teams sitting right atop the conference. BYU at 5-0 in conference, Texas Tech at 5-1. Winner of this game will be in the driver's seat in terms of controlling their path to the Big 12 championship game. So at this point, you'd have to say this is the game of the year for the Big 12. Obviously, there's going to be several quote-unquote game of the years. Texas Tech Utah was the quote-unquote game of the year a few weeks back. But yeah, right now, this is the game of the year. Texas Tech BYU. The question I have for BYU, are they going to move the football in this game against Texas Tech's defense, which is pretty much the best defense money can buy, as many are phrasing it. They built the best defensive line possible through the portal this year. They're 5th in the country in success rate, 2nd in PPA per play. Now, BYU's offense will be getting LJ Martin back. He's practicing and expected to play. That's their star running back, and this is a rushing offense. So huge, BYU getting their star running back, but can they run the ball on this Texas Tech defensive front? I mean, they lost one of their starting defensive tackles, and they haven't slowed down at all. Look at Texas Tech's numbers against the run in their conference games. These are only Big 12 games. They're allowing 2.91 yards per carry, success rate per rush at 39%. They're allowing less than 96 rushing yards per game. And that's even after losing their defensive tackle, Skylar Gill-Howard, a couple games ago, and it hasn't seemed to matter. This Texas Tech defensive front is so good. Now, BYU was able to run the ball in Utah's defense, which is another elite defense, not quite on Texas Tech's level. That game was also at home in Provo. So I don't think BYU can repeat these rushing numbers that they had against Utah. I don't think they can do this against Texas Tech. And this Texas Tech pass rush, this is a unit that generates pressure without sending any extra rushers. They're 20th in the country in pressure rate, 118th in blitz rate. They don't blitz much, which is bad news for Bear Mockmeyer because he's actually been good at reading blitz packages, but he struggled a little bit under pressure. Yeah, I don't see how BYU's moving the ball in this game. Now, on the other side of the ball, if you want to try to sell me on BYU giving Texas Tech's offense some problems, I'm all ears. This BYU defense is very good. They're 33rd in success rate, 20th in PPA per play. Texas Tech 30th and 24th. I will say this BYU defense has struggled a little bit against the run in their last 3 games. 5.53 yards per carry, 44% success rate per rush, allowing over 191 rushing yards per game. But Texas Tech is more of a pass-first offense. So I think there's a path to BYU giving Texas Tech's offense some problems, but I just don't think we can rely on BYU's offense consistently moving the ball in this game. And it's at home in Lubbock, where Baron Morton always seems to play better. I think it has to be Texas Tech here. Laying this big number in a huge game like this sucks, but Texas Tech minus the points under. That's where I'd go with this one. Ohio State, Purdue. Don't have a ton of interest in this one. I mean, obviously we're talking about Ohio State versus Purdue. Ohio State leads the country in success rate offensively, 5th in PPA per play. Purdue's defense 102nd, 103rd. This is a defense that might be a little bit overvalued, too, because you look at the final score of their last 2 games. They held Michigan's offense in check on the scoreboard. Same goes for Rutgers. A couple of good offenses there. They allowed over 6.8 yards per play, 50% success rate. So the defense hasn't looked as good as the final score shows here against Rutgers and Michigan. I don't know. I can't see them making stops against Ohio State. No. Maybe you can convince me that they're at home and Ohio State might be overlooking the game a little bit. Maybe Purdue's able to generate a couple stops, but it's tough to see. And even if you like that, even if you're like, hey, I think Purdue's defense can play tough. I like Barry Odom. Okay. How do you expect them to score? How do you expect them to score on Ohio State's defense? 15th in success rate, 4th in PPA per play. By the way, Purdue just lost their star running back, Devin Maccabee. He's out for the season. That just happened last week. So in addition to they're playing Ohio State, they're also missing their star running back. So, yeah, I'm not seeing it. Look, I know Purdue's been competitive in a few of these games. They came close on the road in Minnesota. They almost beat Rutgers. They actually were in the game down to the wire in the Big House against Michigan. But, nah, this should be a boat race. Ohio State by a lot. I'm not laying 29 and a half points on the road. I have no idea. Ohio State, I guess, for the video. I'm not betting this shit. Bowling Green, Eastern Michigan. Bowling Green's offense just kind of a mess right now. So Eddie George fired his offensive coordinator, Travis Partridge, which that's never a good sign in year one. Just first year. I mean, isn't that the OC you wanted? That was the OC that was with him at Tennessee State. They said he fired him because strategic differences or something. Like, if this is like year 3 or 4, okay. Like, maybe like you guys are heading in different directions. He sees things differently, but it's your first year, and you were just working with him at Tennessee State. I don't know. It's not. I never consider it a good look if you have to fire a coordinator in your first year at a gig. So they fired, or I don't even know if they actually fired him. Relieved of his duties. I thought that was like a polite way of saying firing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's not fired. He's just no longer the OC. Quarterback Drew Pine looks to be still injured. He came back last week, but they took him out right away for precautionary reasons. They said he wasn't 100%, I guess. I don't know. They also had a few players get arrested for simple assault from a bar fight. I don't think they were actually starters on the offense, but there's a lot going on with this Bowling Green program right now. And you might say, well, Kyle, who cares? Eastern Michigan's defense is terrible. And yes, their year-long numbers are bad. 122nd in success rate, 133rd in BPA per play. But I got to say, this Eastern Michigan defense has played better in the second half of the season. I know the last 2 games don't look too great. I mean, 36 points per game. They played Miami of Ohio and Ohio. 2 of the top 3 teams in the conference. I mean, if you look at their 2 games before that, when they saw Buffalo and Northern Illinois, offenses that are more comparable to Bowling Green, they actually played great defensively. So at home against a Bowling Green offense that's going through all kinds of stuff. I don't even know who's calling the plays. Like, I don't even know who's playing quarterback. There's all kinds of stuff going on with Bowling Green right now. I just think Eastern Michigan can play well defensively. And on the other side of the ball, I think it's a really nice buy low spot for Eastern Michigan's offense. I know you look at their last 4 games and the offensive numbers, 24.3 points per game, 5.37 yards per play, 41.1% success rate. These aren't terrible numbers, but they're not great. Look at the opponents. Buffalo, great MAC defense. Northern Illinois, solid defense. Miami of Ohio, best defense in the conference. Then Ohio, not the best defense, but actually they are playing some good defense recently. They're the best team in the conference, or one of the best teams. They're the reigning champions. So they've had a difficult schedule in terms of what the defenses that the offense has seen. Now, Bowling Green's defense has actually done a solid job. Let's give Eddie George some credit for that. This defense is way better than I thought it was going to be. They lost like everybody from last year, so I thought this defense was going to struggle. They've actually been all right this year, but the strength of this Bowling Green defense is defending the run. They've played 3 consecutive games against run-first offenses. Might be a sell high spot on them that they're going on the road against an Eastern Michigan offense that likes to throw the ball. So, and defending the pass has been the problem for Bowling Green. So I like Eastern Michigan to play a good offensive and defensive game. I think this number should be 3 or higher. So, yeah, give me Eastern Michigan, -2.5 here. UAB's on the road against Rice. Not really sure what's going on at the quarterback position for UAB. So, Kitna got hurt. The backup, Ryder Burton, that's who played in the Memphis game where they won. So, the backup quarterback was actually playing during their biggest win of the season. Then last week, Kitna started the game, but apparently he wasn't 100% because they took him out of the game after just 2 series. So looks like they might have tried to bring him back too soon. Not 100% sure who's playing quarterback in this one for UAB, but Ryder Burton has shown us he's capable. So clearly this offense works better with Kitna. We saw that last year when he took over at quarterback, but Ryder Burton has shown us he is capable. The UAB can still score points if Ryder Burton's playing quarterback. So I'm not sure how much he'll move the needle either way. UAB's got a pretty good passing attack, and even despite the change at head coach and whoever's playing quarterback, I think we can rely on UAB to move the ball a little bit regardless of who's playing quarterback. That being said, this Rice defense is pretty good. They're 25th in success rate, 82nd in PPA per play on the year. And they really have played some solid defense in their last 2 games. I know the final scores don't really show that. But in the UConn game, remember, first of all, they beat UConn outright as an underdog. 10 of UConn's points came in overtime. It was 24-24 at the end of regulation. They really played a good defensive game against UConn. And then the Memphis game, they had some fumbles in there. They gifted Memphis a 28-0 lead. From that point on, the defense wasn't that bad. I mean, I'm sure Memphis was just handing the ball off, looking on to the next game at that point. But the Rice defense had been pretty good at home all year. So it's tough to make a call on that side of the ball. I think Rice could play solid defensively, but UAB's offense, they've got that one wide receiver. Can't remember his name, but he's definitely a playmaker. So it's tough to make a call on that side of the ball. On the other side of the ball, we know Rice is going to control the game. I mean, they run the option offense. They're at home against a UAB defense that's just incapable of stopping anybody. On the season, they're 135th in success rate per rush, 132nd in PPA per rush. I mean, they can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. They're legitimately one of the worst defenses in the country this year. Rice running a slow-paced option offense under Scott Abel. They should be able to hold onto the football for literally forever in this game. Look, Rice is not a team that normally throws it, but when they have thrown it, I mean, Chase Jenkins has shown us he's capable. UAB doesn't have much of a pass rush. He should have clean pockets to work from. They also just never get into the backfield. They don't cause any havoc at all. So, yeah, I like the matchup for Rice offensively. They should completely control this game. And if Kitna plays, I probably wouldn't want to be on Rice. But if it's going to be Ryder Burton, the backup, I think Rice and under a field goal will be the move. So give me Rice -1.5 here. Iowa State, TCU. My biggest bet of the week is in this game. The number's gone, though, but we can still talk about it. So the bye week came at a perfect time for TCU. Their left guard, Cade Bennett, had been injured. He's set to return. Their center, Colton Deary, is also banged up. He's listed as questionable. Hoover had a brace on his thumb or something. He's good to go. So this is a TCU team that really needed that bye week. So they're at home, healthier, rested, against an Iowa State defense that's like the complete opposite of that. So check this out. Iowa State's defense. Poor Matt Campbell, man. This guy can't get your break. So both defensive tackles might be out for this game. Orange and McDonough. They both might be out for this game. Starting safety, the secondary is where it gets crazy. Starting safety Tayshaun James is out. Starting safety Jamison Patton has also been ruled out. That's a new one, by the way. He's been playing. He just got hurt. So both starting safeties are out. Remember, this is a defense that's already missing their 2 all-conference corners. Coming into the season, that was the strength for Iowa State. They had 2 all-Big 12 corners, 2 lockdown corners on the same defense. They're both out for the season. So they're missing both safeties and both their all-conference corners. Their top 5 defensive backs are out for this game. Top 5. I think one of them's actually... No. They're all out. Let me rephrase. They're all out. It's the defensive tackles that are questionable. So their top 5 defensive backs are out for this game. They're going on the road to play a TCU offense who all they do is throw it at home coming off a bye week. I mean, this is just nightmarish for Iowa State's defense. I can't envision them making stops here against this Sonny Dykes offense. And look, on the other side... I like Rocco Becht. I think he's a good quarterback. It's been a little shaky as of late. And I even saw one beat writer write that Rocco Becht's one bad game away from being benched. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I do agree that he hasn't been playing his sharpest recently. TCU's defense is nothing crazy, and they have struggled against the pass. So I'm sure Rocco Becht can complete some throws in this one, but it's only a matter of time before TCU is going to be up on the scoreboard and Iowa State's going to be forced into a one-dimensional offense. Keep in mind, TCU's defense has been really, really strong against the run. So, look, Iowa State can probably move the ball a little bit, but TCU's offense just should be in such a favorable spot. And by the way, this is a TCU team that's very much alive in the conference race here. So, yes, they're 3-2. There's 6 teams ahead of them in the conference standings right now. But TCU still plays BYU and Cincinnati after this. BYU and Texas Tech are playing this week. There's someone else that has a tough game too. So whatever. The point I'm making is TCU is still very much alive in the Big 12 race. So they have no reason to take this one lightly. They're coming off a bye week. I think we're going to see belt to ass in this one. My biggest bet of the week. But I'm on TCU at -5.5. It's 7.5 now. would probably still lay it. So, yeah, I think TCU wins comfortably. Sticking in the Big 12, let's talk Kansas, Arizona. So Kansas having both running backs healthy is definitely going to come in handy in this one. This is an Arizona defense that's played really well this year. They're 21st in success rate, 26th in PPA per play. They have shown they're a little bit vulnerable to the run. And this is a Kansas offense. We kind of forget this because Daniels, the superstar quarterback, this is an offense that wants to run the ball. Remember with Devin Neal? I mean, this offense wants to run the ball first. Even Daniels likes to run the ball. So this is an offense that wants to run the ball. They've been banged up at the running back position. They're now both healthy. Arizona has shown they're vulnerable to the run, especially recently. In their last 3 games, granted, they've played BYU, Houston, some stronger, but I mean, Colorado, they're allowing 52.2% success rate per rush, 4.49 yards per carry. Now, Colorado might have been late in the game at garbage time, but they've shown that they can struggle against the run. I really think Kansas is going to come in here and run the football. Now, Arizona blitzes a lot, but Jalen Daniels has been excellent against the blitz this year. A 117.9 NFL passer rating when blitzed. I think Kansas is going to score some points in this game. The question comes on the other side of the ball. We all know Kansas, not exactly known for having a strong defense. Their identity has been an offensive program multiple years now. Arizona's offense is just so streaky and unreliable. I really don't know what I think about Fafita in this Arizona offense. I know Kansas has been susceptible to big plays. They're 117th in explosive play rate allowed. So Arizona will probably be able to rip off a few big plays in this one. But I don't think this number should be above 3.5, considering I think Kansas is going to move the ball efficiently in the game. I think we're going to see long, sustained drives from Kansas. I think they're going to control the tempo. So I can't lay more than a field goal. With Arizona, is that 5.5 still? Was that 5.5 when I was looking before? Yeah, 5.5. I think the move is to go Kansas in this one. I also don't hate an over. I'm a little worried about Kansas with some slow, sustained drives, slowing the game down. Probably going to run the ball a lot. So what's the total at 57? Yeah, 57.5. A little high. Give me Kansas plus 5.5 over 57.5 for this one. Texas A&M Missouri. I'm sure Eli Drinkowitz remembers this one from last year. They went on the road to Kyle Field. This graphic's actually wrong. The final score was 41-10 last year, now 28-10. So it looks like I made a typo with the graphic. It was 41-10. They got smoked by Texas A&M in this game. Connor Wegman was playing quarterback, not Reed. I remember this vividly because I had Missouri plus 3. Thought it was a great bet. They got killed in this game. Well, now this one is at Mizzou, so Texas A&M going on the road. If you're worried about Texas A&M's offense on the road, look at their numbers in their road games so far this year. They're averaging 45 points per game. 45 points per game in their 3 road games, over 7.1 yards per play, 49% success rate. So this Texas A&M offense has not had problems going on the road at all this year. I will say this is going to be their toughest test, though, because Missouri took some criticism early in the year for playing an easy schedule. They've seen some opponents now, and the defense is still holding up. They're 7th in success rate, 19th in PPA per play. Missouri really made a statement in that Vanderbilt game. I mean, Vanderbilt's offense kind of looked at as one of the most efficient and unmovable, I don't want to say unstoppable, just like no one can slow that offense down. You can't get them off the field. Well, Missouri definitely got them off the field. I mean, that was the worst offensive game Vanderbilt's played all year. So Missouri's defense definitely made a statement. They silenced a lot of the critics in that Vanderbilt game. Obviously, they still ended up losing with the backup quarterback, but the defense played great. And we're talking about a Texas A&M team that's banged up at the running back position. Remember, they're still missing their star running back, Le'Veon Moss. He might be back for the playoffs. And Ruben Owens, their other RB, I'm reading that he's a bit banged up as well. I think someone said he was limping. I forget exactly what I read, but I wrote down that he's a bit banged up as well. So Texas A&M a little bit injured at the RB position. They have a freshman that's going to be getting a lot of carries against this Missouri defense that just really shut down Vanderbilt. I'm not sure about Texas A&M's offense. They're averaging 45 points per game on the road this year. They're not going to score 45 in this one. The Missouri pass rush should be able to give Marcel Reed some problems. I mean, this is one of the best pass rushes. If not, it might be the best pass rush in college football right now. They're first in pressure rate, and they do it without blitzing. Marcel Reed, I mean, he's handled pressure really well this year, but does have a tendency to hold on to the football. So I wouldn't be surprised if Missouri can end some drives with sacks in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas A&M struggles to run the ball. I mean, how can you argue with these Missouri defensive numbers against Vanderbilt? They went on the road to Vandy and held them to 25.5% success rate. Nobody has been able to get this Vanderbilt offense off the field this year. Well, that's exactly what Missouri did. Continuously got them off the field. Now, Missouri has been a little bit susceptible to explosive plays so far this year, so maybe Marcel Reed has some opportunities to connect on a couple of home run swings. But, yeah, as far as consistently running the ball, consistently moving the chains, I wouldn't be surprised if Missouri's able to really give Texas A&M some problems. It's the other side of the ball. This is where I just don't know how Missouri competes with Texas A&M. Obviously, we know the Texas A&M defense is excellent. 17th in success rate. 71st in PPA per play actually isn't that great. But look, I know you're probably looking at this graphic thinking, what are you talking about? Missouri's offense is 16th in success rate, 26th in PPA per play. Keep in mind their quarterback just got hurt. Bo Pribula is out, and we're going to see Matt Zollers playing quarterback, who's a freshman. Keep in mind, this is the third string in camp. Bo Pribula was competing with a guy named Sam Horn. That's who the quarterback battle was between, Bo Pribula and Sam Horn. Sam Horn got injured in camp. He's out for the year. So Bo Pribula gets hurt. Matt Zollers is actually the third string playing, who's a freshman. So you've got a freshman making his first career start against Texas A&M. And this is a guy who's been pressured on 5 dropbacks in his entire career. 5 pressures. He's been pressured 5 times in his career. Missouri might also be without their tight end, Brett Norfleet, who's an important part of their offense. He left the Vanderbilt game injured. Their center, Connor Tollison, is also listed as questionable, although I think he's going to play. Eli Drinkowitz even came right out and said that they're not going to be using the full playbook. He said it's about playing to what his strengths are. So the offense is going to be limited here with Zollers at quarterback, and this is his first start. The Texas A&M pass rush, one of the best pass rushes in the country. They create pressure without sending extra rushers. I don't know where the path is to Missouri moving the football in this game. Now, Missouri's got one of the best running backs in the country in Hardy. So everyone on planet Earth knows Missouri is trying to run the football in this game, including Mike Elko. So if you're Texas A&M, I feel like the game plan defensively, it writes itself. They're going to try to run it. That's what they're going to try to do. And if they try to drop back and pass, you've got an elite pass rush that doesn't need the blitz to put pressure on this freshman. I just feel like the game plan to shut down Missouri's offense is too simple for Texas A&M, and I think they could play a great defensive game. Now, I know they gave up 25 points to an LSU offense that we perceive to be bad. They held them to 4.21 yards per play in the game, so the defense didn't play poorly at all. Missouri's run game and their defense should keep this from being a blowout, but I don't know how they're able to keep up. I mean, if Texas A&M gets to 21, I don't know how Missouri keeps up. So it'd be Texas A&M and the under in this one. Auburn's on the road against Vanderbilt, and as I'm sure you've heard, Hugh Freeze is gone. Auburn's moved on from Hugh Freeze. Being held to 3 points at home by the worst team in the conference will certainly accomplish that. That's the nail in the coffin right there. They lose 10-3 to Kentucky, of all teams. How do you lose at home to Kentucky? Yeah, that'll do it for Hugh Freeze. So DJ Durkin has taken over as interim head coach. Now, he's the defensive coordinator. And honestly, the problem with Auburn this year has not been the defense. In fact, on paper, they're arguably the best run defense in the country. They're 3rd in success rate per rush, 1st in PPA per rush. So the defensive coach is still there. And this defense has played great. They lost 10-3 last week. So I don't see any reason to doubt the defense. They're 20th in success rate, 17th in PPA per play on the year. And they're playing a Vanderbilt offense that needs to run the ball. I shouldn't say needs to run the ball, but this is an offense that wants to run the ball. And Vanderbilt's offense, 3-4 weeks ago, we kind of perceived this offense to just be unstoppable, right? Nobody can get this offense off the field. Well, if you look at when Vanderbilt's seeing these elite run defenses, Alabama, Missouri, Texas, I mean, the rushing numbers, those elite rushing efficiency numbers, they're just not there. 32.2% success rate per rush. So this Vanderbilt unstoppable, efficient offense hasn't looked so unstoppable and efficient. Now that we're getting into SEC play and they're seeing some of these tough run defenses, Auburn is definitely a tough run defense. Look at their numbers against the run in their last 4 games against Georgia, Missouri, Arkansas. Kentucky's offense is terrible, but the first 3, those are legitimate offenses. They're holding opponents in those 4 games to 78 rushing yards per game, 34% success rate per rush, under 2.5 yards per carry. So I think Auburn, DJ Durkin is still calling the defense. I think they're equipped to go on the road here and really limit this Vanderbilt offense. The question is, on the other side of the ball, I mean, I don't even think Vanderbilt's defense is that good. How can we count on Auburn's offense to move the ball in this game? It looks like Ashton Daniels is playing quarterback, by the way. Jackson Arnold has officially been benched. We know this is an Auburn offense that needs to run the ball. They have a very good offensive line. They have to run the ball to be successful. Well, that plays directly into the strength of this Vanderbilt defense. Again, I don't think Vanderbilt's defense is very good, but against the run, they're 44th in success rate per rush, 12th in PPA per rush on the season. Look at their last 5 games. Utah State can run the ball, Alabama, LSU. That offense is pretty bad, but Missouri can run the ball, Texas, whatever. But look at these last 5 games. We're into SEC play now. 4.18 yards per carry allowed, 39.8% success rate per rush. Now, they're not completely shutting down the run. In fact, Jam Miller was running the ball on them in the Alabama game, but they're not getting gashed on the ground like that. So an Auburn offense that's limited, that doesn't really pose a threat through the air. I mean, they've got a really good receiver, but Ashton Daniels, limited as a thrower. I think Vanderbilt should be able to play a great defensive game here. It's kind of hard to unsee what we saw last week, week 10 on the road in Kentucky. Now, Kentucky does have a tough defensive front. I know we all perceive Kentucky to be this terrible team, and they are the worst team in the conference, but they are a tough team to run the ball on, so wasn't the easiest matchup ever for Auburn's offense. But how do we unsee this? 3.39 yards per play, 33.3% success rate on the road to Kentucky. Held to 3 points. Looks like they're still going to be missing their center, Connor Liu. He's going to miss his 3rd straight game. This Auburn offense just looks so bad. Maybe now that Hugh Freeze is gone, you got a new head coach, DJ Durkin takes over. Maybe there's a complete shift in culture here offensively, but I'm not seeing it. We should see a lot of running the ball in this game. I kind of feel like this total's a bit high here at 45.5. Both these teams are going to be running the ball. The clock should be continuously rolling. Both defenses should be able to hold their own. So give me under 45.5 here. I think this total's a bit high. I'd probably make it around 42.5. So yeah, give me under 45.5. Kennesaw State, New Mexico State. So we should probably start out by pointing out that, I mean, anyone who watched Kennesaw State's last game knows that UTEP got robbed. I mean, this final score is extremely misleading. Kennesaw State won the game 33-20. They covered the minus 10.5. I mean, you could argue that UTEP was the better team for most of the game. And for those of you that didn't watch it, so UTEP forced a stop on 4th down to get the ball back down 6 with I want to say 4.5 minutes left. I'm guessing it was somewhere in that range, like mid to late in the 4th quarter. And they made a stop on 4th down to get the ball back where they could have driven down and taken the lead at the end of the game. And the roughing the passer call might have been the worst call of the season. Twitter was going nuts about it. So they give the roughing the passer call, and Kennesaw State not only keeps the ball, but then they make another stop on 4th down, and they call a pass interference that's, oh man, UTEP got robbed in that game. So I just want to point out that Kennesaw State didn't look nearly as sharp as this final score indicates. Now, the good news is it looks like Amari Odom is fully healthy and at quarterback now. They were switching back and forth between him and Dexter Williams at quarterback. They looked fine with Dexter Williams at quarterback as well, but Amari Odom was banged up, so we didn't really know who was playing quarterback on a week-to-week basis. It looks like Amari Odom is fully healthy and should be QB1 moving forward. The bad news is this might not be the easiest matchup for Kennesaw State. I mean, New Mexico State is not a good football team, but one thing they do well is defend the run. They're 28th in success rate per rush, 5th in PPA per rush on the season. So this team actually is pretty tough up front. Now, it's still unclear if New Mexico State is getting their guys back on defense. Edge rusher Ezra Christensen and linebacker Tyler Martinez both have been injured. Both are currently listed as questionable. So if they get those two guys back, I mean, this might be a tough matchup for Kennesaw State's offense, and it's interesting because they just played a game against UTEP where they really struggled. Look at their offensive numbers against UTEP, by the way. 4.28 yards per play, success rate under 29%. These are terrible offensive metrics. Kennesaw State's offense did not look good in the UTEP game, and the reason this is significant, not just because it's the most recent game, but UTEP and New Mexico State are very similar in a sense that they're not good football teams, but they both do one thing well. They defend the run well. UTEP is also a bad team that defends the run well. So they're actually pretty similar in that respect. So I don't know if I like this matchup for Kennesaw State's offense. The problem is I just don't know if I can trust New Mexico State to score In their last 3 games, they played Liberty, Missouri State, Western Kentucky. I mean, these aren't exactly defenses that should just smother you. They average less than 4.3 yards per play, 38.3% success rate, 20 points per game. They're extremely reliant on Logan Fife throwing the ball, and the passing attack's been really inconsistent, and Kennesaw State's actually done a great job against the pass. Look at their numbers since they've gotten into conference play here. And by the way, all 4 of these teams are pass-first offenses. Middle Tennessee State, Louisiana Tech, FIU, UTEP, all pass-first offenses. They're allowing less than 228 passing yards per game, 6.28 yards per pass at them. These are elite numbers against the pass, and they're playing pass-first offenses. So I don't like the matchup at all for Kennesaw State's offense, but I do like the matchup for Kennesaw State's defense. So I think it's worth looking at an under here. The reason I didn't pull the trigger on it is look at the pace. Both these teams, 42nd and 54th. We might see a fast-paced football game. New Mexico State is doing nothing but throwing the ball. Not exactly a good recipe for a low-scoring game, but give me the under. I'll pick the under for the video. I really don't hate that. Is there 53.5? No. 52.5. Give me under 52.5 for the video. Stanford, North Carolina. This Stanford offense, man, especially on the road, it's just a tough unit to have faith in right now, especially on the road. They played some good games at home, and I even bet them in their last home game, which I can't even believe I almost won that. We'll talk about it in a second. But this offense on the road, they're 128th in success rate, 126th in PPA per play. They took some injuries to the offensive line early in the season, and it just hasn't been all that great. And now Micah Ford, their running back, who's probably the best player on their well, actually, their tight end's good. The running back, Micah Ford, very important part of the offense. He's missed the last 2 games. He's listed as questionable. I'm not sure if he's coming back. It's just tough to believe in this Stanford offense right now. And they're going on the road to play a North Carolina defense that just figured it out. Look at Stanford's offensive numbers in their last game. 30.1% success rate. I mean, I don't know how I had plus 14.5. They lost by 15. They scored a touchdown. If they went for 2, I might have got it. They kicked the PAT, though. So, yeah, this Stanford offense, very tough unit to believe in. In North Carolina, like I said, look at their last 3 games. They're allowing 3.61 yards per play, 35% success rate. This defense has been lights out. Now, granted, they played Cal, Syracuse with the backup quarterback. These are some lower-end ACC offenses. Virginia's in there. But Stanford's a lower-end ACC offense as well. So, yeah, I like the matchup for North Carolina's defense. I also like the pass rush. Pass rush has been coming around. Stanford's been struggling to give Gulbranson time to throw all year, so the pass rush should be all over them. They should struggle to run, especially if Micah Ford doesn't play. Yeah, North Carolina's defense should play a great game in this one. The question in this game comes down to the other side. Can you trust the North Carolina offense? As I'm sure you know, if you own a smartphone, North Carolina's been struggling offensively for most of this season. They're 113th in success rate, 123rd in PPA per play. Now, Stanford's defense has been just as terrible, but if we're going to lay a big number here with North Carolina, we're going to need them to move the ball. Comes down to this. What do we do with this data point? Do we trust it? Last week on the road in Syracuse, 49.2% success rate, over 6.8 yards per play. A really elite-looking offensive game here from North Carolina. Let's ignore the right side of this graphic, which shows their offensive numbers from the first 4 conference games that are certainly hideous. But last week, they go on the road to Syracuse and have a great offensive game. Now, you might be thinking, well, Kyle, that's Syracuse. Stanford's defense might be worse than Syracuse. I mean, Stanford blitzes a lot, but it doesn't really work. They've struggled to generate pressure all year. Now, you might look at Gio Lopez's splits here and say, Kyle, Gio Lopez hasn't been very good from a clean pocket. And that's fair, but look what happened last week. 155.9 NFL passer rating from a clean pocket. He was essentially perfect from a clean pocket in the Syracuse game. I think North Carolina's going to play well here. I saw 7.5. I took this. I'm on this. North Carolina minus 7.5. Lord help me. Air Force San Jose State. Well, right off the bat, we know Air Force is going to get cooked through the air in this one because Air Force always gets cooked through the air. On paper, this is the worst pass defense in college football. They're dead last. 136th in success rate per dropback, 136th in PPA per dropback. And they're on the road against a San Jose State offense that all they do is throw the ball. So, I mean, right off the bat, we know Air Force is really going to struggle to make stops in this one. Now, they did get one of their DBs back, Levi Brown. He's been out since, I think, week 2. No, he actually came back last week against Army. So maybe they're in slightly better shape than they have been for most of the season. But like I said, this is the worst pass defense in the country on paper. I think it's going to take more than one player to fix that. And this San Jose State offense has looked pretty strong, especially at home. They've been much better at home all year. Look at they've only played 2 conference games at home this year. Look at Eget's numbers, averaging over 392 passing yards per game. So yeah, they're not going to have problems throwing the ball on Air Force defense in this one. San Jose State, they've been missing their top 2 RBs for multiple weeks now, but as a whole, that's concerning. But I'm not sure how concerning that is in this matchup against Air Force defense. They can't stop anybody through the air, and San Jose State is a pass-first offense. So we know San Jose State should be able to move the ball on Air Force in this one. The question's going to be, do we think San Jose State is able to generate stops? And that's a good question because, I mean, Air Force has been very efficient on the offensive side of the ball all year. 11th in success rate, 9th in PPA per play. We did see San Jose State play a game against an option team. Week 1, they played Central Michigan. Remember, Central Michigan, their new head coach is Matt Drinkall, who comes from Army. He was actually Army's offensive line coach, so they're running an option now. So we did get a glimpse of San Jose State's defense against an option offense, and I mean, they did okay in that game, 5.75 yards per play, 43.8% success rate. They actually lost the game, but it wasn't because the defense played poorly. I mean, it was turnovers, then they missed a field goal. It was they more gave that game away rather than lost it. It wasn't that the defense was bad. The thing is, I mean, you can't compare Central Michigan's offense to Air Force. That was actually the first game of the season, too. So that was Matt Drinkall's first game with his new team. So I feel like the 2 units aren't even comparable. Since we've gotten into conference play, San Jose State's allowing over 6.5 yards per play, which is definitely a concern. 43.8% success rate. Now, they actually have done a decent job against the run. So you might think, oh, they're defending the run well. It's Air Force. But this Air Force team can throw the ball, too. They connect on explosive plays through the air all the time. So I'm not sure if San Jose State's defense is going to be able to make stops here. In fact, I don't think they will. I'm pretty sure Air Force should be able to stay on the field as long as they want, which points me towards an over, but 66.5. I mean, these Air Force drives might be 6-7 minutes long. So I don't know. I kind of want to take Air Force, to be honest. Give me over 66.5. I can't take it, though. Florida State Clemson in a game where neither of these teams are above 500, which is crazy. We were talking about this on the live show. Has this ever happened before? As someone who's an ACC nut, have we ever seen Florida State against Clemson in a game where neither team is above 500? That's got to be the first time. Neither of these teams are above 500. That's crazy. So Florida State's offense against Clemson defense. Florida State's problem this year, it's not moving the football. They've been moving the football just fine. In fact, they're one of the most efficient offenses in college football, believe it or not. They're 15th in success rate, 8th in PPA per play. Florida State's problem has been penalties, mental mistakes, turnovers. I mean, in terms of just raw offensive efficiency, Florida State's offense actually looks elite on paper. So moving the football has not been Florida State's problem. Their problem has been shooting themselves in the foot. Last week, we kind of saw everything come together for this Florida State offense. 42 points, 7.39 yards per play, success rate over 47%. This is against a Wake Forest defense that's been playing extremely well. Remember, Wake had just held SMU to 12 points. This Wake Forest defense is great. So Florida State coming off a huge data point. This is their best offense. This is their most impressive offensive game of the year last week against Wake. And this offense might also be healthier for this one. So Castellanos was on the injury report last week. He's not even on the report now. He's good to go. Wide receiver Javon Boggs is listed as questionable. He hasn't played since September, so they might be getting a wide receiver back. Also, running back Gavin Sawchuk, he left the Wake Forest game injured. He only had 5 or 6 carries in the game. He's listed as probable, so he's going to play. So Florida State's offense might be in slightly better shape as well. So do we like the matchup for him against this Clemson defense? Well, this Clemson defense just can't catch a break. In their last 2 games, they're allowing 40.5 points per game, although Duke scored, 8 of those in overtime. They played SMU and Duke. Those are probably the 2 most explosive offenses in the conference. I mean, Georgia Tech's offense is elite, but I wouldn't call it as explosive as SMU or Duke. Now they play Florida State, who's right in the conversation with those 2. So 3 games in a row, really tough games for the Clemson defense. And what does this Clemson defense struggle with most this year? Explosive plays. They're 109th in the country in explosive play rate allowed. That's what Florida State does. Big plays. They're 12th in the country in explosive play rate. So Florida State's offense, I mean, coming off the big game, they've been moving the ball consistently all year. We should see some big plays. I think Florida State's going to score in this game. The question is, can we count on Florida State to make stops? Because Clemson's offense, got to keep in mind when we're looking at these year-long numbers, this is not an accurate depiction of Clemson's offense. Remember, this offense has been so injured that 38th in success rate, 43rd in PPA per play. We almost need to throw these numbers out. I mean, obviously, Cade Klubnik, he's back. Star wide receiver Antonio Williams missed basically the first half of the season. He's now back, and he's back in a major way. 142 yards and a touchdown last week against Duke. They're still missing Bryant Wesco, their other receiver. He's out for the season. Also, their starting guard Elijah Thurman is out for the season as well. But left tackle Tristan Lee and center Colin Sadler, both back. So a lot of the injury problems Clemson had on the offensive side of the ball are in the past. In fact, last week against Duke, this was kind of the first time we saw Clemson have all their injured players back on the field at the same time. They went nuclear. 45 points, over 7.7 yards per play, 56% success rate. They went nuts against Duke. They were even running the ball on Duke. Duke's defensive line is elite. So this Clemson offense, I have a feeling, is going to be a problem through the last few games of the season. And Florida State, they've played some elite defensive games recently. In their last two, they're allowing less than 14 points per game, 3.93 yards per play. Elite defensive numbers in their last two. They played Stanford and Wake Forest. Those are the two worst offenses in the conference. Let's not forget, rewind a few weeks back, they played Virginia, Miami, Pitt, some stronger offenses. This defense didn't look very strong. 36 points per game they were allowing in those three. So Clemson's going to score points right back. I was originally leaning Clemson here, but I think over's the move. We should see a pretty fast-paced football game. We should see some big plays on both sides. Florida State 13th in pace, Clemson at 62nd. Give me over 56.5. I kind of think Clemson's going to win, but I'm not taking it. Over 56.5. Wake Forest, Virginia, and this Wake Forest offense, man. I know they won one of these games, but look at their offensive numbers from the last two. 3.83 yards per play, under 34% success rate. This offense just isn't working right now. I don't even personally believe Virginia's defense is very good, but they're playing pretty well. And at home against Wake Forest, I mean, it's irresponsible to expect Wake to do anything offensively. Their tight end, Falahi, is most likely not going to be back for this one. He missed the Florida State game. They could have used him too. So, I don't think Virginia's defense is anything special, but they're playing pretty well, and they're playing Wake Forest offense. So, yeah, I don't think it's responsible to count on Wake to put up a big number in this one. Robbie Ashford did not play well in the Florida State game. Head coach Jake Dickert actually came out and said they need to evaluate the quarterback position, whatever that means. I don't know if that means we're going to see Deshaun Purdy in this game. We actually did see Deshaun Purdy start when Ashford was hurt. It was in week 7, and Wake Forest did score 39 points in the game, over 8.6 yards per play. It was mostly on explosives. It was 38.5% success rate, whatever. But it was still on the road in Corvallis. It was one of their better offensive games. So it hasn't been announced or anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if Deshaun Purdy is playing quarterback for this one. Regardless, I don't think this Wake Forest offense is good with either quarterback. So, yeah, I think Virginia should play a sound defensive game here. Now, this is a Virginia team that's kind of been hanging on by a thread. They kind of remind me of Tulane before the UTSA game, where they keep winning, but it's like they should have lost a few of these. In their last 5 games, you could make the argument they could have lost every single one of these. I mean, a lot of close games. Remember, even the Cal game where they won by 10, they returned an unnecessary pick 6. It was 24-21. So Virginia's been playing with fire, but they keep finding ways to win games. And look, I mentioned I don't think the defense is very good. Well, in the last 2 games, they played 2 lower-end ACC offenses, and they handled their business. 4.66 yards per play, under 19 points per game, 36.8% success rate. I would take North Carolina or Cal's offense over Wake Forest. So, yeah, Virginia should play a sound defensive game in this one. It's on the other side of the ball. This is where the real battle is, the Wake Forest defense against the Virginia offense. Wake Forest, 9th in the country in success rate, 18th in PPA per play. Virginia's offense has some really nice-looking numbers on the year, but it's kind of coming down to earth a little bit. Now, we do have to point out that Wake Forest got completely lit up last week on the road in Doak Campbell. Florida State just ripped them to shreds. But look at their previous 5 games. Under 4.4 yards per play, under 35% success rate. I would imagine, 5 data points is better than 1, and they were on the road at Florida State. This defense is very strong. And like I said, Virginia's offense, in their last 4 games, under 4.7 yards per play, under 37% success rate. Now, if it was just Louisville, I would say, okay, Louisville's defense is elite. But Washington State, North Carolina's defense is pretty good. Cal's defense is okay. Virginia's offense hasn't looked nearly as good recently. They keep finding ways to win, so no one's really talking about it because they're sitting there like 5-0 in the conference. They're winning games. They're on a huge winning streak, so no one's really talking about it. But this offense hasn't looked very efficient at all, and I think Wake could play a great defensive game, which is why I went under. I took this. I'm on the under at 49.5. It's come down a little bit, but I think you could still get a 48.5, and yes, I would still take it. So I'm on the under. Navy, Notre Dame in South Bend in what might be a nasty game. We got possible rain and snow here. Not quite as bad as the Iowa forecast, but looking like there's a good chance for some nasty weather here, which if I knew the weather was going to be okay, I would lay this big number with Notre Dame. Navy just can't get off the field. In their last 4 games, they've played Air Force, Temple, FAU, North Texas, 49.9% success rate. This Navy defense, number one, they can't seem to cover anybody. I've been talking about that for weeks. They're allowing over 6.4 yards per play against defenses that are not even close to the level of Notre Dame's. Now, Notre Dame does have some injuries to the offensive line, which is concerning. Notre Dame's offense on the season, 27th in success rate, 20th in PPA per play, by the way. The injuries. Left guard Billy Schroth, he's going to miss another game. Center Ashton Craig is going to miss another game. So Notre Dame's offensive line is missing 2 starters, so I suppose that's something, especially if it's going to be bad weather. Maybe that levels the playing field a little bit, but this Notre Dame team just went on the road to Boston College. They average over 8.3 yards per play, so the offense was moving the ball, just 25 points though. So maybe those missing offensive linemen are noticeable. So I suppose there's an angle to get to Navy. If there's nasty weather that takes away the passing attack, that should even it out. And Navy's glaring weakness defensively is defending the pass. So I suppose that's how the playing field gets leveled, is the nasty weather. On the other side of the ball, I personally think Notre Dame can stop this Navy offense. I know this graphic is a little intimidating. Navy first in success rate per rush, first in PPA per rush. On paper, this is the most efficient rushing attack in the country. But look at Notre Dame's defense in the last 4 games. They played Boise State, good offense, NC State, good offense, USC, good offense, and Boston College. Not so much, not that great of an offense. They're allowing 12 points per game, under 4.4 yards per play against solid competition. So yes, I know this Navy offense is steamrolling everybody. I know they're a powerhouse. I know on paper they're one of the most efficient offenses in the country, but look at their game logs. Who's the strongest defense that Navy has seen this year? Seriously, look at the graphic. Who's the best defense on this list? North Texas? North Texas defense is better than last year's, but it's still not an elite defense. Other than that, FAU, terrible defense. Temple, terrible defense against the run, especially. Air Force, terrible defense. Rice, pretty bad defense. Tulsa, terrible defense. UAB, one of the worst defenses in the country. So outside of the North Texas game, Navy has played exclusively terrible defenses. In fact, I'm willing to bet that all the defenses on this list outside of North Texas might be in the bottom 20, 25 of the country. So Navy has pretty much played the entire season against terrible defenses. If you remember, we saw this matchup last year, Week 9 at MetLife Stadium. This one's in South Bend. Last year was at MetLife Stadium. Navy's offense was a powerhouse last year as well. They were held to 14 points by Notre Dame, 40.4% success rate. Now, the 14 points is a little misleading. They turned the ball over 6 times. So 14 points is a little bit misleading. They were doing slightly better than that. But the point is, Navy's offense was a powerhouse last year as well, and Notre Dame's defense was able to keep it in check. Look, this is how I feel about this game. If the weather's nasty, I want the under. So if the weather's nasty, I want the under. If the weather's going to be fine, I'd probably lay it with Notre Dame. So give me the under for this video, so because it's looking like the weather's going to be shitty. Under. Cal's on the road at Louisville, and this line is so inflated. It's a little bit better now. It's come down a little bit. I took Cal at plus 20.5. I mean, Louisville is not that type of team. They're much better. Obviously, Louisville's the much better team here, but this is a Louisville offense that needs to run the ball. The passing attack with Miller Moss, it hasn't really shown us much this year. What Louisville is, they run the football, they play elite defense. That's what they are. They're not exactly a run-it-up team or a team that just blows teams out. Remember, they only beat James Madison by 14 at home. This is not that type of team. This is a run-the-ball first, play defense type of team. And coming into this matchup, they just lost their star running back, Isaac Brown. He might be out for the season. Isaac Brown's one of the best playmakers on the team, so he's out. Their RB2, Duke Watson, he might still be hurt. He's been banged up for about a month and a half now. There's a chance he comes back for this week, but they're not sure. There's also injuries to the running back depth. So Louisville, an offense that needs to run the ball, they're very injured. at the running back position, and they're missing their star guy, Isaac Brown. Now, Cal's defense has struggled against the run. Louisville, with that offensive line, they're still going to be able to run the ball. Doesn't matter if RB5s in the game. They're still going to be able to run the ball on Cal. That's not what I'm saying. But without Isaac Brown and Duke Watson and those big home run hitters that Louisville has, I'm not sure if we'll see the big explosive plays on the ground, and I think Cal can at least limit it a little. They're still going to get run on, but we're talking about laying 20.5 points here. So with the injuries to the running back position, I wouldn't be surprised if Cal actually plays a decent defensive game here. We know Louisville just steamrolled Boston College and Virginia Tech in the last 2 games. 8.49 yards per carry, 276 rushing yards per game. I get it. They steamrolled back-to-back teams on the ground. Let's not forget in the 3 games before that when Isaac Brown was banged up, because remember, Isaac Brown was injured earlier in the season, they're averaging less than 76 rushing yards per game, under 2.5 yards per carry. Now, Pitt, Virginia, Miami, these are all defenses that are better than Cal, but I think we're just letting 2 games blow this number way out of proportion here. I think Louisville's offense might struggle a little bit. Well, in relation to the market, they're favored by 3 touchdowns. I don't think they're going to be that good, is what I'm saying. Now, on the other side of the ball, don't get me wrong. This is Louisville's defense is so good. This is one of the best defenses in the country. They're 8th in success rate, 14th in PPA per play. Cal can't run the ball. Sagapulitelli's going to be under all kinds of pressure here. I get it. It's a tough matchup for Cal offensively, but this Cal team has played well in these cross-country trips. They played really well in the cross-country trips last year. This year, they beat Boston College. They beat BC in Boston. They went to Blacksburg, played Virginia Tech to overtime. So this Cal team has played well in these cross-country trips. 20.5 was crazy. I'm on Cal plus 20.5. This should be like 14.5. So, yeah, if it's still above 17 when you're watching this, I would still take Cal. I'm on Cal there. San Diego State is out in Hawaii, and this San Diego State team has been such a wagon. I know the year-long numbers here for the offense don't look that great. 59th in success rate, 67th in PPA per play. But look at the last 4 games. In the first 4 games, they were really struggling offensively, but Sean Lewis really got things together in their last 4 games, almost 50% success rate, 6.7 yards per play. Now, the quarterback, Denagle, is listed as questionable, but I'm not sure how serious it is, and based on what I've heard, it looks like he's going to play, so no concern there. Hawaii's defense has struggled in their last 4 games, 31.3 points per game, over 7.6 yards per play. I will say, though, Air Force, Utah State, San Jose State, 3 of the most powerful offenses in the conference. Colorado State, not so much. They've played some really tough opponents. They're back at home. Dennis Thurman is going to be aggressive to take away the run. He's going to blitz. I think Hawaii can play a good defensive game here. Let's not act. I know the numbers look great for San Diego State in the last 4 games. We really sweat that cover in a game against Wyoming last week. We sweat that minus 10.5. The offense didn't look all that great, and that's against Wyoming. I think Hawaii can play a solid defensive game here. And on the other side, this Hawaii offense has caught fire. Now, let's be clear. San Diego State's defense is the best in the Mountain West. They're 3rd in success rate, 1st in PPA per play. This defense has been absolutely elite. But if you look at Alajado's numbers in the last 4 games, he is lighting it up. Over 384 passing yards per game, dominant from a clean pocket. They're doing a good job giving him clean pockets to throw from. In the last 4 games, Hawaii's averaging over 39 points per game, 6.9 yards per play. San Diego State just lost their main linebacker there, Latuli. He's out for the season. And here's the thing with San Diego State's defense. So I want to be clear. I was gassing up San Diego State in the offseason. They were my sleeper pick to win the Mountain West. So I'm not a San Diego State hater. I've been betting them. I've been gassing them up all year. Here's why I think it might be a sell high on the San Diego State defense. You look at their game logs. Where are the passing attacks? Washington State, in week 2. They went on the road to Pullman. They got crushed in that game, by the way. Cal, that's a good one, but that was at home in San Diego State. Who else have they seen that could even throw the ball? Wyoming, Fresno, Nevada, Colorado State. These are terrible offense. Northern Illinois is the worst offense in the MAC. Played some really bad teams. They played some really bad offenses. The only decent offenses they've seen, Washington State, who, by the way, blew them out, and then Cal, who they played a great game against Cal. But to lay 7 on the road against Hawaii offense that's flourishing, this will be San Diego State's the defense's toughest test in a while. I'm on plus 7, and I'm on the it's down to 48.5 now. I was going to take the under at 50.5. I might have missed it. But yeah, I bet this. I'm on Hawaii plus 7. Thanks for watching. Let's have a great college football Saturday. I'll be hanging out in the Discord watching all day if you want to come hang. Yeah, let's have a good one. See you guys tomorrow.